So we're still, I think it's about 2010 altitude, a 200 series, so we're just going to do the upgrade in here today. We're going to do the head unit and our factory reverse camera. So obviously we've got steering wheel controls as a factory setting. Yeah, these are pretty much due for an upgrade. Yeah, the GPS is off anyway, but the maps are old. You've basically got a radio, so it's good to have a new one. Obviously, we've got the reverse camera, so you'll see how much better like that becomes once we put out a new one in. Steering wheel controls will still work, and that's about all the factory features we have on this, so we will go ahead and put it in. So we start with these two little trims on each side. I'll just show you the passenger side here, but you're going to do the same on the driver's and the passenger. You only really have to take these off to help you pull out the cigarette thing. So if you actually were just doing the head unit, you could skip this stage. But because we're putting the quick charge up port in, we have to do that. So if you just get your hands under the trim, you'll find, and just bring your hand along and around like that, you'll find that pulls off all pretty easy. Then at the back here, it's got this little clip. Now you just want to give this a poke in the middle, and that will mean it'll pop out easy. If you don't do that, it doesn't come out right. I can see someone's done this before and they haven't put it back in right, but that's because they didn't sort of realise it was actually there. Then we've got this here that has to come off, Phillips or 10, and now what can actually happen is this whole piece can pull straight out. We're not going to be able to do that yet because I need to take this radio out and do it. Right, so once all that, if you've got extra bits in there, then you've got to pull this just on an angle towards you. So like that will sort of pop off pretty straightforward. Then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I won't show you that, but it's the exact same thing. The other side you can just leave hanging there though, because it's got your push button switch on it. So you want to just leave it hanging down so you can still power up the unit. All right, so I've actually pulled off the other side here as well, and I've just left it hanging there so I can get to there. Next thing you want to do is you want to come up here. You can take off your dash mat if you've got one of those. And you've got a little piece on top that we're just going to sort of pop off. So if you get your trim tool in and around the sides, you should be able to lift it up. Once you get a little bit started, you can come around here and just pull it up like so. You can actually just actually leave it sitting there. Then what we've got next, we've got the AC vents need to come off. So the best thing to do here is actually try and push it up as hard as you can with your hand. Slide a slim trim tool in the bottom, and that just pops it out like that, and then get your hands on either side and away you go. These have a small little plug on them. Push down, pull out like so, and do the other side. So I pull it up as high as you can. It just gives you a bit more sort of room to stick in the trim tool, then you won't do any damage to the dash. Push in, pull out. That is all pretty good. Now what we'll do next is undo that, undo that, undo that, undo that for 10 mils. Once that's all done, the actual radio and trim are separate. So if you just grab your hands on either side and give us a few pulls, you see I kind of jerked it a bit. Then unplug the hazard. It's just got a push down, and the clock has the exact same thing, push down and a pull out. You can see that is the rear part here, the fascia, separate from the main unit. So push down and pull out. If it's a bit stuck, push it in, push down again and pull out. Same here. And you've obviously got your radio. On the back here, you've got all these plugs that are all pushed down and push and pull out. So I'll show them to you, but is it the exact same as the two you just took out? If they feel like they aren't coming out, just push it down and pull it out again. Push it in and pull it out again, because sometimes I just get a bit jammed. Cool. And then this hazard one has these little clips in it, so just get a pair of pliers to pop it off that, and then we'll be. So that's the old unit out, the back of it. That I just put a pair of pliers on there to sort of pop out that. So I'll remember that is for the clock. Put that to the side. That's for the hazard switch. So don't worry about these two. Put them to the side, and then these are your radio ones in here. Now they're always look a bit confusing because a Toyota puts all this sort of patch cabling in here, but you'll see our harness match up to all of these. Sometimes you have to sort of remove a patch cable. You can see that there's a cable going to a cable, so the same as here. I'll talk you through that anyway, so that'll be fine. Go through and cover everything you get in the kit here. So obviously you get the fascia, the screen, so M series screen. This is the back of the unit, main 20-pin plug, auxiliary plugs, GPS, 4G, FM, AM. I'll cover this again in the video, but quickly going over it like that. I'll cover all our antennas now. So we got, look, 4G antenna, so you only need to use this if you're going to be using a SIM card. We always install it just in case anyway. A Jeep, so this unit can work with like nav apps and like whatnot. Bluetooth or Wi-Fi antenna, so you can see this is a bit of an extended one we've made. That goes into the auxiliary of the head unit. A SIM card, a third USB, so a single USB, dual USBs, and external microphone. So here's an external mic here. You can like run this or like not run it. Up to you, you can test both. Factory USB retention, if your car had a factory USB plug to keep that working. These two most of the time are used, so auxiliary inputs when I'm not going to be using that on this install, but the only thing you'd use it for if you want to keep your auxiliary plug like working or like a third camera input. And pre-outs used if you're running like an aftermarket like amplifier. A camera in cable, very important, so reverse camera is going to go into this like purple line. A secondary camera you can put into this F-cam line if it's a caravan camera or whatnot. Easy adapter harness, so that pretty much makes our kits plug and play. This is like a rocket panel switch, so it gives you dual USB, quick charge and like a pass through. OBD2 scan tool, transmission temperatures, check lights and other data. USB for updates, trim removal tools, a manual, hydration assistance, and that's everything that's in the kit there. So we'll go through it. It probably seems like a lot. If you watch the video, you'll get a better understanding. The next stage, you want to grab your head unit. You want to put this plug in here, the video one with the two RCA, so reverse camera one, into there. You want to grab your antenna. You could have a big version of this, or you could have like a smaller blue version. This like basically can like stay in the whole time. Then once you've plugged it in, and like normally you can't like leave it sort of floating up like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab our adapter kit, we're going to match it up to the plugs, and we're going to check that everything like works before we go any further. So you grab this plug and you go through here and have a look. So yeah, interesting. So this is a patch cable. We're going to like leave it on because I can see what they've done is they've like patched out power to the FM AM antenna, which you can see we have that adapter on our harness and we have power to it as well. So that's fine. Not all cars are going to have that, and that's sometimes why in our kits we have extra lots of wires and stuff going on. It's not lining up. There's a pin in here that doesn't look quite straight, so I'll straighten that. It's a bit rare that we have that happen. You can just put a trim tool in here like so and just make it a bit straighter. These should just clip straight in pretty easily. There we go, like so. And they should clip in. If they don't, just like so, keep an eye on them because that's what you're after. Now you can see it actually just like goes back to a standard antenna here. Depending what a model you have, we've actually included some like SM like plugs in here. So you can see we call these little black ones so like SM plugs, and you can see we've got like a power going to them, and like both of them are actually unplugged. Now on some models, they like didn't have the blue wire, which is your antenna amp, like coming into this antenna port. They actually had it on the main plug here, which you can actually see. It would have been that pink wire. So that when you'd actually plug in like our big like main one here, you've got these two coming out. So actually, you would see, you'd actually follow it through and you'd see the pink wires and like that one like there. I can like see that. So I would hook these two together, and that will put antenna, a 12 volt amp down that pink wire to give your antenna amp power. Now on like this one, they've bypassed it and like put it through to here. So we actually could get rid of this extra patch cable and plug ours straight in and just put our blue wire onto where this one's coming in, which would be that one right here. But in this case, I'm just going to leave the patch cable on. That's just what they've done. So that's all good. So that's two wires hooked up. Then we go through and we find some more. The other pretty like common one is your other big one, which would be this one here. It's got big pins. That's why I call it a big plug. That plugs in, and you keep going through and you have a look, and then we've got all this going on here. So majority of the time you're going to be pulling this patch cable off. It's got all this extra like wire down here. If I actually, yeah, there you go, thanks to it. That's how they do things sometimes. I just update them. That's like why we have to have like so many plugs on our harness. So I've got rid of that one now, and you can see we've got a few plugs. So just go through what we have in our kit and I match them up. You've got this little like 4-pin one here. I know that's our reverse camera like power and feed. We've got this 5-pin one, which I know is our reverse trigger, which is this one here. So, and you'll want to hear them go click in. If they don't go click, probably it means that the pins are a bit bent. Just double check them and try and like set them. That obviously goes into there. And what we have left over on our harness is so these two are for the clock and hazard, don't forget that. So on our harness we've got this left over and this. And on the car side we've only got like this one and like this one. So both of these aren't like used. This here was the old GPS, and this here, not 100% sure, but it would have been for like certain things that we're not using. So that is it all like plugged in. Hopefully you won't have that antenna plug problem. I've never actually had that before. Now we're going to put our like, so main 20-pin plug in, the unit like that. Put it down so you can see. Now this here, you've got two RCAs like coming out, two yellow ones. So this is a factory like camera feed. Follow them both back. Like one of them is going to go nowhere, and the other one's going to actually like go to a plug. So I can see like one of them goes to like this plug. I'm not going to be using so like this one. And the other one actually goes to a plug that's plugged in. So that's going to go to our purple cam in. So give us our reverse camera. And then for testing purposes, you can plug in the FM AM antenna. So you got radio going on, so like so. And then that is basically it. What we'll do is you can kind of just sit it in there, turn your car on, see if something happens, and then we'll go from there. Just turn the car on. Power, always a good start. Now, we basically want to check power, sound, a radio, steering wheel controls, reverse camera. 5 things in this model, and then we can go and actually put everything together. We just do the check because that way, when we go to put it in, we don't go, oh no. Yep, it's definitely got sound, working well. Then we want to do steering wheel controls. So because there isn't a CAN bus in this car, what you do is you go settings, car infotainment. SWC stands for steering wheel controls. Push like volume up on there, flashes, push it on there, it goes like solid color, volume down, skip back. And you got one extra button on here like mode. So you can do that for whatever you want. So you could set it, I'd probably set it for home or like microphone, up to you. Or we'll leave it as like sort of mode and put our Vhedia mode app in. It is up to you what you do. I'll put it mode for now, and I'll put it for home for now. And then that's done, and you can test that. Cool, that's working. And now we want to put the car in reverse, and you can see the cameras are working. Now you can see the quality is pretty bad there. We're putting our factory fit one in here, so you'll see how much like better out of that becomes. Once that's all done, that's all your testing. You can pull that out, take out your plugs. That door beeper, you can actually just push the door stopper and it'll stop it. You know, the little like rubber bit in the door, and then you don't have that beeping while you're doing your install, driving you crazy. Now we'll go and put all our auxiliary like plugs in now. We'll tidy this up a bit, and then we can like basically chuck the head unit back in, and we'll go from there. Right, so now we're going to do all our auxiliary plugs, I like to call them, all our extra plugs. I'll start with the kind of the hardest one. It's not very hard, but rocker panel switch here just gives you a quick charge and a good way for the USB to come through. Now you got to make sure the things are plugged in the back, yes. So this one here is going to piggyback off the back of our cigarette lighter, and this one here is going to pass through to our USB. So we can plug both of those in because they are big enough to go in. These plugs here, just like make sure you give it a good push in, because they actually go quite far in when they actually sit in properly. So I normally just use a trim tool, flathead screwdriver to push it in. Check the other ones in okay. Then what we need to do is need to pop out a little trim piece here. This is where your trim tool comes in handy. So normally if you just put one under the bottom, if you can squeeze it in there, it'll just flick out. So just push that in like the other bottom and it'll fly out somewhere. And then we go from there. And then what we want to do here is we've got just unplug this customer's got a bit of stuff going on here. We'll unplug that, snack for lunch, put that up there. And then this whole bit here just pulls out, and you can actually get to the back of the cigarette, the bottom one. There's this little plug here. Now if you have a look at our one, you can see, cool, that's a piggyback plug. You can just plug it straight in. You don't need to chop or cut or join any wires. Fairly handy. Now these, you can normally run it through fairly easily because it's just next door, like so. Run that through. Obviously needs to go down the bottom. We do actually include cable pullers in the kit now. There wasn't one in this kit, but you should get one hopefully, which can make some jobs easier. This we don't really need one for. Obviously the piggyback into there. That's how easy that is. You can pull that whole lot through if you want through here, because obviously it's going to be easy to tidy up on this other end. Put your USB through. That will plug into our USB coming off the back of our unit, and just tidies up having a nice tight like USB port there. Pass that through to here. So then pull both of them through, and you should all look fairly tidy going through into here. Just make sure you put it the right way up. There's like, well, it doesn't matter, but there's like text on there. So that's in, that's done. Next one, you got your 4G antenna. Now this is only important if you're going to put a SIM card in it. A lot of our customers don't use it, some of our customers do. We just put them in anyway because that way you're covered if you want to use it in the future. Peel the stick off. There's a handy little spot for that right here. On this model we can stick it right in here. Actually no, we'll stick it on the back here. We'll actually put the yellow GPS up in that one. Stick that down. It's the same as your phone. It's like going to get reception. It's fine there. Putting it up higher wouldn't really help much. Now this gives it unit its own GPS, so you can run all those offline navigation apps or all the different apps. Pull the stick off. Perfect spot for the GPS is right in this little thing here. So this is the cable that runs under there. So straight on there. That's a little flat piece there. Again, all your stick stuff, just give it a bit of a push down. 10 or so seconds. GP done. External mic. Now, if you don't want to run this, you can actually test it with and without it. Majority of the time you don't actually need it if you did want to save yourself 10 minutes of time, but we will run it, and on this model we've just actually updated it so you do have a choice to turn it actually on or off. So you can just use the internal mic, we can use the external one. We're going to put it up there and run a cable through down there and above the pedals and back behind here. So that's just how you run the external mic. You can remove the trim piece, or you can just tuck it in. It's up to you. If you remove the trim piece, it's a better option because obviously then you can tuck it in where the other cables are in the A pillar, but otherwise you can do it the quick way, just tucking it in. So in there, the wires tucked in through here, down there. So this piece of trim just can pop off, and then you can tuck the wire straight across. You can use our cable puller kit and just throw it straight across and pop it up behind the head unit. So once that's come through, we just pulled that through. Everything bring up into the top here because that's where the head unit is going in, and that goes into this one right here. It's our external mic, and this is our 2 USB. So what we'll do is we'll undo that. That's a good one to do next anyway. Now this didn't have any factory USB on it, so one of these is obviously going to plug, no, you guys only just find out. One of these is going to plug into this one here, which is the USB that came from our quick charge port. So that's going to give that a pass through. And the other one, what I do is I just actually tuck it down into the trim down the side here. So it's hidden, but you still have easy access for it. Use cases for this, I don't know, if you want to run our TPMS or something extra. Yeah, tyre pressure dash cam, etc. At least if you can get to it without putting off the dash, it is handy. And actually all these other free auxiliary plugs are all going to go down to their same spots. SIM card, again, you probably won't be using it, but if you do want to use it, it's there. And our third USB port, again, handy for our dash cam, our TPMS, etc. if you want to run that. Right, so we've just run those down there. You can use a cable puller, and you can see they're all sitting in here. Now, actually, what will happen is we'll actually tuck them in the carpet here, and they'll be easy enough to access if you need to, plus they're out of the way. Now I'm going to go through and tape this all up. You don't have to get too serious about the taping because you kind of want the wires to, go in and kind of a drop down, but we'll just tape it up a little bit, and then we can basically put the head unit back in. Old fascia, new fascia. Just two things. Hazard switch, you push both of those in, it'll pop out the front. That's going to pop in through the front of our one. And then you got two Phillips here and here. Screw out the clock's going to go into our one there. So those are the only two things in the fascia. They have to come. All right, so they've gone on the fascia. You can see screwed in, has it in, just looks like how the factory one was. Now we go through and we plug everything in. So I normally like to work from one side, so make sure your 20 pin plugs in. Make sure you got your hazard and your clock one hanging loose down here, and don't forget them. Reverse one, remember these two, because that was a plug that only went somewhere. I actually taped the other one back out of the way so I don't get confused. This antenna will come on, so working my way across. I normally plug all these tape all these auxiliary ones together, just so I know that what I'm doing is right. That and that. Then we've obviously got this one in here. That's pretty much everything. So if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plugs in here, you're probably going all right. These two, 4G, GPS, and then your FM AM antenna, which will come across here and plug in like so. Right, that's all looking pretty good to me. Now, don't forget your hazard at the bottom and your clock at the top. The other ones are for your Aircon controls. And then as you go in, you just want to kind of help the cables sort of tuck back and down. That's why I said don't get too overexcited about the taping, because what happens if you tape them too much is they become really stiff, and it actually makes it harder for you to put the head unit in. It's like that. Make sure everything's around about lining up, like so, and then you'll go through, give it a few good pushes, and you'll see that's all sitting pretty flush down there. That's where you're sort of looking for. Now's a good time to test again. It'll slow boot again because it is a powering up from being unplugged. So normally when you start your unit, it'll power up quick. Hazards are working, top clock's working. Do your exact same checks you did before.
And now we move on to
Got radio, got sound, steering wheel controls in reverse. All good. So nice work there. I'm just going to take this one up here a little bit, which is our power from our piggyback on the cigarette plug, and then that just tucks back in and away. Again, everything plastic. Just make sure you line the tabs up and it'll go back in super easy. Now, before I put it all back in, I'm fairly confident, but I should be doing the test now. I would just hook your phone up to it and do a call. So to hook up your phone, just turn your Bluetooth off and on probably. For some reason you have to do that on iPhones. Apple phones don't seem as bad. So that's me. You can pair it on here or on here. It's going to give you like a pop-up on your phone anyway. Pair, and then keep watching your phone because it's going to ask like allow, and then keep like watching it because we should get a pop-up asking CarPlay, and if we don't, that just means we need to do. There we go. So normally when you jump in your car, so this will happen. So hook your Bluetooth up, and then like Bluetooth actually like drops out and it hooks over like hotspot, and you can see, cool. Now I would be like, hey Siri, cool, blah, 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 but I don't want it to do it. So, and I just do a test call, I'll make sure everything like sounds good, and then happy days. So that Aircon one was in. Once that's all lined up, push that in. Same on the other side here. Plug that in, plug that in. Just watch that little cable there. That all goes in like so. The top one, we didn't actually take anything off here, so you don't have to worry about the plugs like that. And our side pieces, so these just go straight back on like this and clip in, and then put that little clip back on it. So I'll explain this little clip here, what you do. That little clip down the bottom here. So press it all the way back in, all the way, and don't lose it like that. Let me just find that, and then there it is. So it's just a pin that obviously like goes in, but it has to be all the way out for this to be able to close. So that's what happens. Then if you grab this, you can only fit in like one way because of all the little other side clips on it. So that clips in, then you can go and actually put this in like so. We'll keep these, and then you can see all our extra cables that I tucked in here, which I will tuck out of the way soon, apart from that one there, because that's actually for his radio. So I'll get these out of the way. They're going to go up in there, actually keep them further back. Yeah, we'll run them behind here. Then clip that back in, and then you've obviously got a little pin here that we just talked about, goes in, and then the pin goes in it. One thing that everyone forgets, it just like rips out like so. That's in. Then don't forget this, and just same on the driver's side, and everything will be good. Goes out up in there, and this is your trim piece. Just make sure you don't just force these on, like line them up, because if you just force them on, I've seen them before where all the plastic clips have been like bent because people haven't like sort of lined them up and they've just pushed them in, and it will go in, but you'll bend all the clips. Yeah, that's basically that done. Right, so there you have it all put in. If you haven't done one before, it's probably going to take you about 2 hours to put that in, to give you a rough idea. Obviously that's where when you start the car up, it's a wireless CarPlay, steering wheel controls are all like working, a reverse camera. I'll show you the update here in a second, but that's all in and looking pretty good. So good job getting that in. If you have any dramas, give us a buzz when you're doing the install. You can take some pictures, send it to us, and we're always here to help you out. All right guys, today we're just going to cover the video of us upgrading the reverse camera here. You can see that's the quality it currently is. I'll also like drop it down so you can see the factory position in a second. I'll come back in so you can compare it to the old one. This is direct factory replacement. It's like AHD quality. It will not work with the original unit. You have to use an aftermarket one, and your aftermarket one has to be able to take AHD input. It won't work with the Saharas or the higher end 200 series that had the satin up the top. Even if you only got just a reverse camera, or if you had the 4 cameras, because they're going to a little box down there. So Sahara, I think it's just Sahara, it won't work with. We will hopefully come up with a new 360 camera for that sort of system. So here's our direct factory replacement. So you can see that's what it looks like here for the 200 series, and you can see in the 200 series here, it's going to go on there. So I'll torques to get these off, and then I'll explain the next step that is a bit of a pain. We've got to actually pop this inside trim off, but I will show that to you. So taking out those, it's a Torx like 30 bit. In here, they've got these little clips that screw in. So I'll come through and I'll show you what we have to do next. So if you just get your hands in like the edges here and pull down, you'll be able to pop off the trim. I go along the whole way just like this, and you'll be able to pop the whole lot off. Just put your hands in close each time. Don't try and do too big a one, because you want to be kind of close to the clips when you pull them out, because otherwise the clips will snap or get stuck in there. And then the only bit that's a little bit hard is each side here. You kind of got to push this bit back in, and it like pops out of here. And that should basically be this whole trim bit come off. So you can probably see those clips there. That's what we had to pop off. Now I'll try and get the camera in here so you can see what I'm talking about. So, sorry, just trying to work that out. See how good this thing goes when there's not much light. Oh, yeah, pretty good. So you probably can't see that, but there's two black clips either side. You can see they've got those little things like pointing out on them. We've got to try and squeeze those in. So I normally get a pair of pliers from the top. I get them started to push them back through, and then I leave it from the other side of a screwdriver. All right, so that was actually my best one so far. So you can see what these clips are. They've got those two little like things in them. So I actually put a plier on at the back end, so in behind here from obviously inside the trim. Then I got one of our trim tools on them, and as I was squeezing those tabs in with the pliers, I levered it with this. That was actually the easiest one I've done. These seemed a bit like softer, like some of them are super hard. But pliers from the back, so lever from the front. If it is really hard, you can actually get a screwdriver and kind of stab it and try and lever these two pieces out. But then we're just going to pull this plug out here, so push that down and pull that off. All right, so that was actually my best one so far. So you can see what these clips are. They've got those two little things in them. So I actually put a plier on at the back end, so in behind here from obviously inside the trim. Then I got one of our trim tools on them, and as I was squeezing those tabs in with the pliers, I levered it with this. That was actually the easiest one I've done. These seemed a bit like softer, like some of them are super hard. But pliers from the back, so lever from the front. If it is really hard, you can actually get a screwdriver and kind of stab it and try and lever these two pieces out. But then we're just going to pull this plug out here, so push that down and pull that off. Now, once you're in the car, obviously into reverse here. So we need to go all the way on. Into reverse, you're going to get this sort of screen happening because the camera format's changed. 4 zeros into there. Change this to 1080p 25, I'm pretty sure. Let me check this out. There you go. So that gives you an idea from the camera pointing up how much better the quality is, and I will show you from it pointing down soon. Right, so we've put that down now. So there's an idea of your quality difference, fairly decent. Cool thing is too, when you're obviously backing up, when you got the high def, you can, even though the camera's still off center, much easier if you've got a back up onto a tool or a pin. So that's all that done. You can see the camera's all in there. It looks exactly like the factory one. So all I did was I put the torque screws back in. That's a T30. Screwed it back in, and I put that interior plate back on. The only thing to watch for is when you put this interior plate back in, tuck in these ends first, because this actually clips together, and then you would have pulled these out probably a little bit. These kind of have actually clips that go into this side. So you want to clip in this bit first, and then kind of lift this all up and then in, and then just clip a couple in, and then go and do the other side, the exact same thing. And then once you got both sides, and then you can go boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, put all the clips back in, and you got a beautiful new camera in. Awesome.